everyone. Hello and welcome back to ESBR Boxing. Delighted to be joined by my two esteemed colleagues, Paul Kelly and Daniel Gilfillian tonight. Gents, before we get into it, how are you both?
All good, thanks, mate. All good. Looking forward to this video.
Yeah, same here, Owen. Good man. Cheers for having us on.
Well, it's a major fight we're talking about, so we may as well jump straight into it. Leigh, Mauricio, Lara, February 18th at the Motor Point in Nottingham. It's a rearranged fight. It was supposed to happen towards the back end of last year. And at this stage in Leigh Wood's career especially, it is a huge night. First thing I wanted to talk about is the actual rescheduling of the fight itself. Obviously, Leigh Wood got the bicep injury. That meant the fight had to be called off, and Maxi Hughes became the chief fight of the night. So I'll start with you, Paul. Do you feel that the actual rescheduling of the fight has helped Leigh Wood, sort of like obviously giving him extra preparation time, but do you think that'll work to his advantage?
Yeah, thanks, Owen. I think 110%. Yes, 100%. There's no doubt about it. I think if you're looking at it, yes, obviously in an ideal world he wouldn't have wanted to get injured, and so on and so forth. But he's been given essentially an extra 4 or 5 months to prepare for the same opponent. Funny, I'll probably mention it a few times because it's fresh in my mind. But I'm just off a call with him there, an interview with him, and he said he's even more. Said he thought he was prepared for the first fight, but then now that he's had these extra few months, it's just shown that like he could have been even more prepared than that, and he says he couldn't feel more prepared than he is now. So yeah, I think it's all positive signs for Leigh Wood. But then again, you could say the same thing for Mauricio Lara. He's probably known it's going to be Leigh Wood, so he's got more time to prepare for Wood. But from a Leigh Wood perspective and from a British perspective, yeah, I think it's definitely good news.
Danny, do you concur with Paul's points, or do you see it as more of a negative for Wood?
No, I would agree with more or less everything Paul has said. Obviously, as he says, not ideal getting injured. I think it would benefit, the time would benefit Leigh Wood more than Lara, because like how much of a tactical game plan is Lara going to come up with realistically? He's just going to go in there and try and take his head off essentially, whereas Leigh Wood, you would imagine there's going to be sort of more nuances about avoiding that early onslaught from Lara and being able to land his shots without getting hit and such. So yeah, just as Paul says, I think it would favour Leigh Wood, provided there's not any sort of long lasting effects from the bicep injury. But you can't imagine he would have took the fight for so soon if there was. So no, I think probably does benefit Leigh Wood.
So taking one of your points there, Danny, leads me on to my next question. You've mentioned how it's expected, based off what we've seen before, that Lara is just going to run at Leigh Wood and try and take his head off. Is this high risk, low reward for Leigh Wood in terms of Leigh Wood's 34, coming up 35. He's fighting a knockout artist. I mean, I'm pretty sure Lara's got 18 knockouts and 25 victories. He's arguably one of the heaviest hitters at featherweight. So do you think this is high risk, low reward for Wood?
Definitely high risk anyway. We all know what Lara can do. I just don't know what other options there were for Leigh Wood. I know it's been said that the winner of this gets Josh Warrington. Still wouldn't be surprised if they done Leigh Wood, Josh Warrington, even if he did lose. So fighting Lara for a voluntary, for no other belts on the face of it, does seem a bit crazy, and I suppose in a sense it is, but in terms of easy fights to make in the featherweight division, because as you says, like the age Leigh Wood is now, I doubt he has much interest in a stay busy shooting up fight. He probably just can't believe he's at this level and wants to maximise his earnings where he can. So I suppose in terms of what's available, when you factor in promotional sides of it, injury, etc., then the Lara fight probably is one of the more lucrative ones to make, but it's definitely high risk.
And then similar to you, Paul, how do you assess the risk, especially of this fight for Leigh Wood?
Yeah, it definitely is high risk. I completely agree with what Danny's saying there. In terms of the low reward, I suppose that some people could say that because it's just another defense. I suppose at the end of the day, it's not like it's a unification or anything. But everyone knows who Mauricio Lara is in the featherweight division now. We didn't know who he was before he fought Josh Warrington, and then he made a statement, and he's been brilliant since. He's exciting. He's, as you mentioned, he's one of the biggest punchers in the division, if not the biggest puncher in the division. So it is. I wouldn't say it's low reward necessarily, but I understand what you mean. It's in terms of he could have had a voluntary against someone ranked like 20th, 15th in the division, but he's not. He wants to challenge himself against the best. So it's very high risk, but it's a risk worth taking in my opinion because again he's going in as the underdog. But if he comes out the other side like he has done in all of his recent fights as the underdog, kind of the world's his oyster really.
The main question on everyone's lips, really. We all know what Mauricio Lara is about and what he can do. But the biggest one for me is coming back to you, Paul. Do you think Leigh Wood can stop Lara?
Yeah, in short, I do, and it's funny because we had a group chat organising this video, and we were having a discussion, and I said, we knew Wood was the underdog, but I went on and looked, and he was 4-1 or something to win by knockout. And I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on that. In fact, that's such a good price that I might become a betting man again. I'm putting money on that, honestly. No, I really, really do. And then you'll know what I mean once you talk to a fighter as well, just off a Zoom with him there and interview, and he's super confident. Says it's not going to go past 6 rounds. So I'm ready to load the cannon on Leigh Wood knockout. But I know in all seriousness, I do. I think that. I mean, he doesn't. That's not his only way of winning. I don't think people are just saying, Leigh Wood's gonna. His only chances by knockout. People are just thinking of the Conlan fight. But if you think of the Kanju fight before that, I know since then Kanju hasn't been brilliant. Um, but at that time, Wood was the underdog, and I outboxed him for 11 rounds or 12 rounds before he stopped him as well. So it's not just that he's got a puncher's chance; he can box too, Leigh Wood. But yes, in short, I think he can stop him, and part of me thinks and can see him that he will stop him.
And then obviously over to you as well, Danny, but obviously a little sneak peek from Paul there that Leigh Wood's confident. Obviously the bookies are against him. Do you feel those odds are a bit too high for Wood?
Oh, it's tough to say. Obviously, everything Paul said is 100% true. And I think, I know we're not turning this into a betting show, but from a value perspective, you would have to say it all is with Wood. But at the same time, Conlan had Wood down and badly hurt early in their fight. And, there's a good few levels of punch power between Mick Conlan and Mauricio Lara, but Wood's definitely capable of stopping Lara. Lara's, it was a long time ago, been stopped before. He was not far off getting stopped in a recent fight. I think it was one against Sanchez. And Wood is going to be up there with the biggest punchers he's faced, but also is technically good enough to land it. So I think whilst there is every chance it could go the distance, I think Lara will be so aggressive that if he doesn't stop Wood himself, he'll get knocked out. It's a close to a 50-50 fight, I would say. I'd agree with Paul in terms of the betting angle that I would be tempted to bet on Wood as well, probably.
And then touching on what Paul said previously, Danny, before he come over and just obliterate Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara wasn't very well known in this country and probably wasn't very well known throughout a lot of Europe either. But in terms of who Leigh Wood faced throughout his career, obviously Paul's mentioned the Zucan victory. He's been in with Mick Conlan, he's been in with Jazza Dickens, Gavin McDonnell. Where do you think Mauricio Lara ranks in Leigh Wood's opposition?
He's probably the best. It depends if you go off what they've achieved or in a head-to-head. I think I'd probably pick Conlan to beat Lara, but at the same time, obviously Woods beat Conlan. It's between one of those two. I think Lara would knock out Jazza Dickens and Reese Mold and Kanzu and whoever else. And he's definitely got the sort of most fearsome reputation coming into it for the Conlan fight. People were obviously Conlan was the favourite there as well. But people were saying, "Oh, Wood will just get outboxed," whereas there's people here saying, "Nah, he'll get destroyed." So it just would be crazy to think of the 2 years Leigh Wood will have had if he does come through it, going from edging out Reese Mold to beating Mauricio Lara and arguably having the best resume in the world at featherweight. It's just crazy. But he's bang up there for me.
And then for you, Paul, obviously between me and Danny, we've named quite a few of Leigh Wood's opponents. So where do you see Lara ranking in the men he shared the ring with?
I can't disagree with Danny at all there. I'd probably say if I had to rank him, I would be number two. I would rank Michael Conlan as his toughest opponent to date, simply off, you know, Conlan's amateur pedigree and the fact that he was the favourite and all going into the fight, and it's just boxing ability wise, if you put Conlan and Wood beside each other, Conlan's almost better, well, in most people's eyes, and in nearly every department. Yet Wood was the one that won the fight in the end, I suppose. But yeah, he's definitely up there. Second, probably I'd say second. Yeah, I think he's comfortably second, but maybe just a little bit behind Conlan. I would also back Conlan to beat Mauricio Lara. So yeah, it's interesting. It is really interesting. I think in terms of Lara, in terms of where he ranks in opposition, he's up there. But I also think, and Leigh would mention this in our interview, he's very rash. Mauricio Lara, he just goes for it, which is exciting for us as the viewer. But in terms of technique and stuff, when he lands his first shot on Leewood, is he just going to go for broke? Which I don't think he can do against Leewood because he's got that equalizer as well. So he's definitely up there in terms of opposition. Probably will be the hardest puncher Leewoods will have faced. Skill wise, definitely up there. But yeah, overall, I'd say he's just behind Conlan.
And then, Paul, where does the winner go? It's a tough one because obviously the Warrington fight's been mentioned for Wood. Obviously, it's a huge domestic clash. Lara's obviously shared the ring with Warrington, and we all know what happened there. But where do you see the winner going? Is it the Warrington fight? Is it unifications? What's next in your opinion?
Well, Wood himself said to me earlier, it's big fights or nothing really. He said in an ideal world, and I agree with him. Win this fight. You want to fight, just before the summer, and he would say I want to fight at the City Ground. Warrington at the City Ground would be brilliant. He'd bring everyone from Leeds up. Or, another's been mentioned. The Conlan rematch is definitely there, but only if Conlan has a world title. So there's rumours Conlan's going to fight Lopez, and I would back him to win that fight. So then, all of a sudden, you've got the Conlan rematch, and all of a sudden it's a unification clash. For me, for the winner, if it's Leigh Wood, it's just big fights. You mentioned earlier he's 34. He said earlier he wants to retire in 2 or 3 years' time. He doesn't want to be going on too late. So yeah, I think that if it's Leigh Wood, it's just big fights. Your Warringtons, in terms of British interest, Conlan again because they've got the rematch and potentially unification. If not that, then any of the other champions. But I think it can only be big fights. Same as Lara, if he wins, just want big fights.
And then for yourself, Danny?
Yeah, I would again just echo what Paul says. All roads seem to lead to that like big sort of cross city fight between Warrington and Wood, which I think regardless of what happens, would be able to sell out the City Ground or Ellen Road. Warrington's still got a massive following, and Wood seems to build quite a nice one of himself. The Conlan rematch will always be there. That would be huge if Conlan Lopez does eventually happen. That would be for the IBF and WBA. And I don't see it. A fight with like a Ray Vargas or I know Figueroa and Magsayo or however you pronounce it are fighting. I don't think that side of things will open up for anyone over here just because there's too many promotional barriers to overcome, and I don't think the fights are big enough. But like as I said, the Conlan Wood rematch, the Warrington fight would both be huge British fights.
And then just quickly to wrap it up, gents. It's a horrible question. I'm going to have to push you for it. Start with you, Danny. Predictions, please.
I'll go for, I don't know. I said I would bet on Leigh Wood, didn't I? So I'll stick with that. I'll say Leigh Wood stops him in 6 rounds.
Paul?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to agree with him. Plus, Leigh Wood is this knack of predicting everything. When we asked everyone for predictions, he always seems to get it right. He's basically predicted every single fight. So I agree with him. 6 rounds, but I'll maybe go round earlier. I'll go round 5.
Interesting, gents. Thank you both for joining me tonight. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer of a fight. It's one that there will be fireworks. There's no question about it. It's been a pleasure chatting to you both. And to all the viewers watching this, like, subscribe, comment our opinions, and if you agree, and if not, come back to it after fight night. Thank you again, gents, for joining me, and have a good night.
Cheers,
Cheers.